All right, this week in occupational therapy, in OT, we are going to make a tear and paste Chewbacca craft, right, in honor of Star Wars Day, May the 4th. So this week is Star Wars Day, is this week, so we're going to make this craft to celebrate that. You only need a few simple things to make this. We're going to do a lot of different skills all in the same craft. So you need some plain paper. I got a couple pieces of plain white paper here. Some crayons, some glue. I like glue sticks. If you have glue stick, that's great. If you have liquid glue, that's fine too. And then I had something round. We're gonna do a little bit of tracing with this. So I had a bowl. It was a little smaller than my piece of paper. So I just chose a bowl because it's nice and round. And do a little tracing with that. So first thing we're going to do, like I said, we're going to practice a few different skills. First thing we're going to do is practice a little folding. Okay, so we're going to take one of our pieces of paper and we're going to fold it in half. Okay, we're going to use our hands to do that. So when we fold, especially when we fold things in half, typically we'll match up the corners. Okay, so I'm going to match up this top corner, fold it right over and match it up with this other top corner right here and try to match them up so that they overlap and they're nice and straight. Okay, and then one hand is going to hold the paper, the other hand's going to fold. So I'm going to use my fingers to push nice and tight on the crease of my paper, fold it nice and tight. Okay, now I am going to open it up. So what we're going to do with this paper is we're going to color the thing in all the way. Okay, I figured maybe I'd ask you to use some colored construction paper, but we're going to incorporate more skills by coloring it ourselves. Right, so I'm going to find brown and we are going to color in this paper. Now we're going to do two different kinds of coloring. We're going to go right down the middle of this paper, okay? And half of the paper we're going to color darker than the other. So we're going to have sort of like dark brown and light brown, okay? So we're going to do that by pushing harder on the crayon to make dark brown, and we're going to just push down just a little bit and color very lightly on the light brown side. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to color all the way to the edge of the paper, all right? So remember, we're going to do one half dark and the other half light. So we'll start with the light colored side. Okay, so this time I'm only going to push very, very lightly. So I'm not pushing very hard. Remember, I'm just using my 3 fingers, just the fingertips to hold the crayon. These other fingers get tucked away in the palm of my hand. Now, if that's hard, you can even hold on to something in your hand. Like I can hold on to this little piece of crayon to get these 2 fingers out of the way, and that gives them a job to do. Okay, so I'm going to try that, and I'm going to use these fingers to color. So I'm going to color very lightly, and I'm just going to push just a little bit. Not pushing too hard because I want this to kind of be light brown. I'm going to start on the edges. I'm going to color in the entire half of this paper. All right, that looks pretty good, light brown. Now this half of the paper, I'm going to push a little harder on the crayon. I'm going to make it darker brown. Okay, so I have 2 different kinds of brown, light brown, dark brown. So let's do that. I'm pushing a little harder. You can see that that's making the lines much darker because I'm pushing a little harder. Now remember, when we color, our helper hand always holds the paper down nice and tight so that it doesn't move. Sometimes it's a little trickier near the edge. You really have to hold it down really close to where you're coloring. So let's get this nice and dark. There we go. So I've got light brown and dark brown. Okay, done with that, and done with my little helper crayon there, holding on to that with my fingers. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside for a moment. I have another piece of paper. All right, this time I need a couple different colors to round out our project, okay? So I have my brown. I'm going to need a little bit of black. I'm going to need a little bit of white and a little bit of red, okay? So the white can stay white because the paper is already white. So I'm going to color in a little bit of this paper black and a little bit red, okay? Not too much black. The light's not too good in here. I think that's black. So I'm going to take a little bit of this paper. And you don't have to be too picky about it. Just take one section of your paper, color it in black, okay? There's some black. I'm gonna get some red. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna make a little bit of red. And you don't have to go all the way to the edge, and you don't have to be too picky. Just a little bit of red and a little bit of black, okay? And I got plenty of white here to go along with it, okay? All right, so I've got all my color papers. Now, this is my blank paper that my project's gonna go on, okay? This is where we're gonna make Chewbacca's head. All right, so I'm gonna try to do this a little bit different. I'll do it upside down so you can see it, okay? So you can see it right side up on the video. So first thing I'm gonna do is take this ball or whatever you have that's round that you can start to trace. This is gonna be the very top of his head. So the top of his head is round, okay? So, let's see, grab crayon here. I'm gonna use brown because he's usually brown. I'm gonna trace half the bowl, okay? Just the very top of his head. So I'm gonna make sort of like a half of a circle. I'm gonna start on one side of the bowl. I'm gonna hold it down with my helper hand, and I'm gonna put the crayon right up against the edge of the bowl, and I'm gonna trace right around the edge. Sometimes you have to kind of shift and reach around the other side. I'm gonna do about half of the circle, okay? From one side of the bowl to the other. All right, I'm gonna pick that up, and I should have about a half a circle. There it is, okay. So now we're gonna kind of bring these lines all the way down to the bottom of the paper. This is gonna be all the way down to where his neck is, okay? I'm gonna kind of just take my crayon and come all the way down to the edge of the paper like that. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, all the way down to the edge like that, okay? There's the outline of his head. Now's where the fun begins. We're gonna do lots and lots of ripping and gluing, okay? So we're gonna start just with the brown, the light brown and dark brown. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take this paper and we're gonna tear it up into tiny pieces, okay? All of it. All right, so I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna take the paper, just rip it into pieces. This is too big, I'm gonna rip that one in half, about this size, okay? If I look at my thumb, it's about as big as my thumb, okay? About that size. We're gonna rip this entire paper up into pieces. Doesn't really matter. If it's some dark and some light, that's okay. So let's spend some time and rip the whole thing. And our last couple of rips there. Okay, now I have a big mixed pile of light and dark brown pieces, and that's great. I want it to be mixed up. So now we're going to start to glue these inside of his head, okay? And we're going to kind of mix them up, light brown and dark brown, and we're going to cover this whole space, okay? So I'm going to take my glue. I like to kind of do these one at a time. I think the glue dries a little quick, so I just put kind of a little dab of glue, take a piece, stick it on, okay? Just make sure we're inside the lines. I'm gonna start right here at the top of his head. I don't have to be too picky. I'm just gonna kind of stick these. At the top, I'm kind of picking light and dark, kind of mixing them up a little. And they're inside the lines. So now I have the top of his head. Now I'm going to do another layer and work my way from the top all the way to the bottom. And that looks great. We even got a couple extras here. There, okay. Now, we could add some finishing touches. You need some eyes and a nose and a mouth. So that's why we have these other colors that we made, okay? So we're gonna rip these up a little bit too. So we are gonna end up with a few black pieces. So we'll just rip right out of this section that we colored, okay? Let's get a couple small black pieces. These are going to be Chewy's eyes. And Chewy's nose. Okay? Now we need the mouth. And we are going to use some white and some red. All right, so I'm going to rip around this red section that I colored. Get a couple skinny little red pieces here. And give him a little mouth down here, okay? I'm going to give him a nice red mouth, sort of like a couple pieces in a row here. Just like that. And then I'm going to take my leftover paper here. Get a little bit of white. I'm going to try to rip a couple pieces of white that are kind of triangle shaped. I'm going to be really careful to try to make it a little bit triangle shaped. Kind of like two tall teeth, okay? I'm going to put a little tooth on this side. Try to get this one a little more pointy at the top, like a triangle. Give him a couple little sharp teeth coming out of his mouth here. Bingo. And there you have it. In honor of Star Wars Day this year, cool little Chewbacca craft. Your very own Chewbacca. Enjoy.